Thank you all for being here with us today. It's great to be back here at the Northwest Tea Festival. And thanks for taking the time out of your busy day. You could be tasting tea. So I appreciate that you're here. I also want to thank, before we get rolling, Julie Rosenoff and Doug Livingston for their help in making all the arrangements and helping me to come. They're always so kind. So I want to tell you about GTI and its mission and goals and updating you as we go along on what we're doing to make this initiative into a permanent institute on campus at UC Davis, and how we're trying to make ourselves a useful resource for the tea industry as well. But before we say anything about that, I'm just going to talk about tea and friendship first. I'd like to bring up the relationship of tea with friendship, and for that matter, tea with peace. Friendship, because as Manik Jayakumar reminds me, tea is friendship. When the topic of tea comes up, one of the things that people often comment on is its ability to bring people together. This is really critical and important and easy for people to miss unless they're paying attention. Whether it's for business or pleasure, it's that soothing something that enables us to bond over shared truths. Every time I engage with a tea person about GTI, I personally get a powerful sense of friendship. Being here with all of you generates a similar feeling. It's like when you put something in a Buddhist begging bowl, it's a gift ostensibly for the person holding the bowl, but I always feel that the gift comes back more powerfully to the giver, and I think that that is the same thing with tea. Not only does it promote a sense of well-being, but it is not unfounded to say that with tea comes peace and opportunities to promote peace and maybe even world peace. One of the things that I take great pride in as a faculty member at the University of California, Davis, is our mission to be a university for the social good. I see GTI as a significant contributor to that mission. We are here for the greater good of our community, our tea community, campus community, regional, national, and international. Just briefly, I'll touch on our origins. In 2015, we launched the Global Tea Initiative for the Study of Tea Culture and Science, GTI. So now, a full 3 years in, we're starting to transition to become the Global Tea Institute. Ordered by our administration to make GTI blossom, I'm proud to be able to say that our top administrators already view GTI as, quote, a wonderful success story and, quote, another jewel in UC Davis's crown. And we're still just an idea. So I'm proud. GTI's mission is to promote the understanding of tea through evidence-based knowledge with a global perspective. GTI promotes research on tea from anywhere in the world, in any discipline, and with any methodology. By asking new questions about tea, we are finding out new knowledge about tea. We are extending the boundaries of knowledge and sharing it with our students and the world. Moreover, through interdisciplinary and collaborative work, we are starting to ask new types of questions for new types of new knowledge. This is one of the most exciting parts of what we're doing, and the kinds of conversations that we can now have are just breathtaking to me and my colleagues. By bringing researchers together to study and teach tea from diverse disciplines and approaches at the most comprehensive campus in the University of California's extensive system, UC Davis GTI can conduct research and collaborate in ways never before considered. To be sure, Camellia sinensis is our primary focus, but many things are consumed as tea. Many tea cultures exist, and all merit study. Our goals are many. They include fostering knowledge about tea through public events, such as our colloquia and symposia. These are the posters from our first 3 annual events, each one was just wonderful. Some of you were able to join us, and please come back for our next one. Our 4th annual event is set for January 24th, 2019, and it is Body, Mind, Spirit, Issues Surrounding Tea and Health. It should be a pretty fascinating and provocative program as well. We also have arranged and will continue to arrange lecture series of experts in academia, the industry, and government institutes, and workshops aimed to address the needs of the tea industry and the general public. Of course, our goals include research across the disciplines in the field and in the lab. This is Dr. Yvonne Wan. She will be one of the speakers at our upcoming event. She has just published a paper on the importance of tea regarding diabetes and obesity and other things. She's a pathologist who does GI tract research and has done all sorts of fascinating work with tea and cancer in the GI tract. So I just heard her give a talk on this, and it will be fascinating. So that's an update for you. And also, of course, we use our library. We love our library, and we love our librarians. We have 6 or more librarians as part of our group now, and having them involved means that we get great resources, and they do astounding work that reference librarians do. Also, new news here is that someone you all know, Mr. Norwood Pratt, famous and esteemed writer on tea, has made a promissory gift of his tea library and papers to UCD GTI. So we're very pleased about that, and this gift is being supported by Harney and Sons. So it's just a lovely, thoughtful gift, and something that will be, of course, in our library. And our library believes in academic freedom, and so it's not just our students and faculty who get to use our library, but the general public who comes in and wants to use our resources, of course, also are very welcome. We want to promote knowledge and understanding. Our goals also include teaching across the disciplines and developing a new global tea, culture, and science curriculum for undergraduates and graduate students. This is going to take some time to write. On my campus, it takes 3 years to get a course on the book. 1 year I have to write it. The next year it has to go through the system. Laborious. They send things back for all sorts of reasons that sometimes make no sense, but that happens, and then it gets sent back, approved, and on the books. It takes at least 3 years. So we're methodically working forward to course by course to make this happen. This curriculum development has already begun with the teaching last year of a first-year seminar aimed at new students on campus, first-year freshmen and transfer students. And so capped at 19 students, we had 7 faculty from the GTI faculty and librarians giving instruction. And we are getting ready to submit a proposal to do the same course with slightly different contributors in the winter quarter. On the screen is a picture of Dr. Robert Hackman in nutrition. Robert is a wonderful scholar and supporter of GTI, one of our first faculty members, part of the team who gave us good reasons to drink red wine and eat dark chocolate. He's one of the part of the team who discovered the flavanols in those things, and his team is prepared to do the same thing for tea. On the screen here is Dr. Joseph Sorensen from East Asian Languages and Cultures. He's a literature expert, but here he's speaking on the elements of Japanese tea culture, and you can see some of our students in these pictures as well. Here is Dan Goldstein, one of our librarians, talking about why smuggle tea, the global tea trade in imperial economies in the 18th century. So those are just some of the speakers and talks that we presented, but one of the things that was really fascinating from this course was how much the students got out of it. And I mean, as a teacher, you always want them to learn something, but beyond learning the basic facts, we got comments like, understanding the history makes me basically understand the world better. And I can use this deep knowledge for the future, for my future, which was like, whoa, I love you, you get an A. But the other thing about this in terms of the industry response would be that the more people understand, the better understanding they have of this magical beverage, the more demanding they're going to be of higher quality teas. And that's only going to be a good thing for the industry. And through exploring tea, they can explore the world. When students realized that Global Tea Initiative existed in our very first year, they came to my office. I mean, it's amazing. During office hours, anybody can walk in, and all these amazing people have walked into my door, just bopped in. And one of them came in and said, how come there's not a Global Tea Club? I was like, well, you haven't started it yet. So they started the club, and it's been so successful. They hold meetings every other week, organize special events and workshops and talks on their own. Sometimes people from the industry work with them, so I can help them connect with people in the industry. These are two past officers on the screen. Here are more from the group, but it's a big group. At their very first event, they had like 90 students show up for a tea tasting for like 3 hours, and they just hung out and drank tea and chatted and had a great time. Now they are collaborating with UC Davis Arboretum and Gardens, and they hold Sunday tea chats, tea and chat in the Arb once a month. And the Arb and Gardens loves it because it brings more people in using their facilities and collaborates with other departments on campus, and the students have a great time. Everybody has a great time. So the other thing about the students that is really exciting is because I was here last year and met a young man who was not a student but just happened to meet him. He applied to UC Davis to the program in design because he wants to build ecologically sound tea houses, and with really advanced design concepts. So I'm sponsoring an independent study with him this fall, and I anticipate being on his MFA committee. So all sorts of things are possible. So he's our first recruit. Graduate student recruit. People contact me all the time by email from around the world. Can I come to Davis and study tea? Can I come to Davis and study tea? It's like, yeah, you can, but not yet. But so it gives me more incentive to make sure that these programs get written. And on that score, one of the ways that this program will stay stable and be part of the campus and part of this community in perpetuity is one of the missions and visions is that we will have endowed professorships across the disciplines. And if I could just get one in at least one in every college on campus, then a chaired position that would fund a faculty member and fund graduate student research, maybe a postdoc, that would ensure that research on campus would always go forward regardless of who retires, and we would support good student research and advance this mission. So just throwing that out there. But that's one of the things that's going to make this a permanent entity. So, of course, this is a global initiative, and so we work with our Office of Global Affairs, which is a great office and really supportive, and the head of that office is Joanna Rogulska, and she's a firecracker and goes around the world giving talks, and she says, yeah, Katherine, she's from Poland, yeah, Katherine, I go around, I talk to people about this and that and this and that, and people's eyes glaze over, but when I say tea, everybody sits up and goes, what? And they want to know more. So you are our poster child, which I'm very proud to be. With their help, we've begun really good conversations with top research institutes around the world. So top tea research institutes in China, Japan, Taiwan, other places where with established programs, we respect what they're doing. We want to collaborate with them. They have a deep knowledge base about tea that we don't have, although we have things that they don't have. So through collaboration and partnership, we can really make things happen for our faculty and students because we can, of course, do exchange. So the question is, why now? The time is simply right for us to participate in this conversation. The marketplace demands consumer awareness, and the better educated the consumer, the greater the demand for higher quality tea. So our mission as a university is teaching and research, so we want to help that happen. So indeed, we want to be here to meet the needs of the tea industry. And it's right to do this because there's a marked growth in the tea industry for all kinds of teas in the U.S. right now. So it really needs to happen. And the University of California takes very seriously its land grant mission to help people better understand, especially citizens of California, but really our campus is an international campus, so there's no such thing as a border. A heartfelt thought. And in many ways, we may think about tea as the new wine. This is what Rona Tison has said of Ito. And, there are many, many parallels between the two beverages. So not only is the tea is the new wine, you can think about it that way, but one of our supporters and internationally acclaimed wine expert, Daryl Cordy, has pointed out that in the U.S., tea is now where wine was 50 years ago. And of course, UC Davis has a preeminent wine program and has led the way in making wines in California world class. And this is what we're going to try to help the tea industry do as well. Not that we're the only ones out there, but as a research institute, we're the only one out there to do it from a global perspective. So speaking of wine and tea, this is a new update just in. Honest to God, being part of GTI is like having Christmas every day because something wonderful happens. I say this constantly, and it's just amazing. I had an amazing lunch with a donor yesterday, fingers crossed. On Monday, I had an amazing meeting with the head of the new director for UC Davis's Robert Mondavi Institute for Wine and Food, which is a storied program on campus and in the world for wine. And he had heard about GTI, and we set up a meeting. And the first thing he said was, "What you're doing with GTI to bring science and culture together, I don't know why we haven't done this. We need to do that too. So we're going to transform the campus with GTI as a model," which I am so honored to be in that position to help with. And then he said, you had this idea about collaborating on a project. What was that? And I said, well, I think what's fascinating about wine and tea is that they have so many similarities. The chemical profile is similar. The flavor profiles are actually very similar. The soil components and needs are similar. The way you process it, similar kinds of immediate demands, and on and on and on. The list goes on and on and on and on. It's really fascinating. I think we should have a major conference together, and it needs to be at least 2 days and bring together lots and lots of people across the disciplines to talk about the way we think about these things, because I think tea has a lot to learn from the wine industry, and frankly, perhaps the wine industry might learn something from us. So he said, wow, great idea, let's make it happen. So we're searching for a suitable date, and so it will be in 2020 or 2021, depending on the academic calendar and the room availability and when you need to pluck tea and the Qingming Festival and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there's all these things that you have to pay attention to, but it's going to happen. So check back, we'll help with that. One of the things that also needs to happen is that there's a need in the industry for tea to be defined and codified. We know what tea is, but there's confusion because lots of things are drunk as tea. So we need, and if you go into the grocery store, you as knowledgeable people go into the grocery store, you know what you're going to buy, and maybe you don't go to the grocery store, you buy from one of these wonderful people out there instead. But the general public doesn't really know that they can do that. And the difference between this tea and that tea, it's tea. How would I know? And how would they know? So one of the things that can happen is that we can codify tea. And in fact, recently, this summer, or just at the end of the academic year, I met one of the new members on campus who is proposing to classify things through coordinated ecosystems of technologies, I'm quoting him because I couldn't write this, with an aim to solving the world's most vexing health, social, and environmental challenges relating to food. So he proposes to design and build a ontological and computational infrastructure to build a semantic web of food, health, and sustainability for tea. So my colleague said, I'm doing this for food, but it needs to happen for tea. You want to collaborate with this? I said, yes, let's make this happen too. I'll do whatever I can to help make that happen. So these are just some of the things that we're doing on campus. And as Manik Jayakumar of Q-Trade Teas has said to me, as we stand, there's no other organization in the world that embraces global tea. So with the growth of specialty tea in the U.S., GTI is ideally suited to play that role. And so I'm grateful for his observation, and he's been a great supporter and one of our wonderful partners. So as you all know, approximately 4 in 5 of all world consumers drink tea. By 2020, it is predicted the $6 billion U.S. ready-to-drink industry alone will reach $7 billion a year, and $20 billion in restaurant sales. Of course, compared to coffee, wine, beer sales, that's probably small potatoes in the industry. But what that means to me is there's huge room for growth. So I think we should take that as a positive sign. And especially because millennials are the largest cadre of consumers of tea. This is actually real live tattoos. One of our students in our first year seminar, this is her, and this is her mom. Isn't that sweet? Now, I do not have tattoos, but I want those. I think those are so charming. Anyway, I didn't meet the mom, but the daughter was just lovely. So, in other words, not only do millennials like tea, but so do their parents. So this is a growth industry. Okay, as I said, we're an initiative now. We have aspirations, but we are making the slow transition to becoming an institute. And as an institute, we dream of having our own dedicated building. I've gone to the campus grounds and planning several times, and every time I talk to them, they say, this is where you need to be. And I go back and say, this is where you need to be, and this is where you need to be. And where this is on campus is like the high rent district of the nicest part of the Arboretum and grounds on campus. And I just hope somebody else doesn't get there first, because it would be ideal for us, because what I want is a dedicated building with tea rooms and gardens, meeting and teaching space, a dedicated sensory theater. Every time we use the Robert Mondavi Institute for Wine and Food Sensory Theater, which is a lovely space, we blow their fuses because they're used to opening a bottle and pouring wine, and we plug in hot pots and blow the fuse. It doesn't work very well. So we also need exhibition space, so that all the objects that are starting to be given to us, art objects and other visual material culture, we can use those to tell the story of tea around the world in different places and times, and explain the culture and explain the science so that people can really get it. Because I have read, probably, I don't know about you, but I've read How You Process Tea a zillion times. Without doing it myself, it's still like, wow, couldn't tell. Again, I mean, I can, but not well, and we want to be able to tell the story well. So to repeat, GTI is unique in the world. It is the only organization in the world to embrace global tea, and across the disciplines, and at our rigorous level. So again, though, you might want to say, but why UC Davis? There are many institutes and universities around the world that already study tea and have a long track record of doing it really well, and we respect their achievements and we want to partner with them. But UC Davis is pretty special, and it is well suited to lead the way on global tea research and teaching. Still, what qualifies us for this kind of work? Well, we can build on campus strengths, established strengths in wine, beer, chocolate, coffee, olive oil, honey, and many, many more, milk, tomatoes, and more and more and more. So just as we're on the forefront of developing world-class wine program for the U.S., we can develop a world-class tea program as well. And so we're taking the lead on spearheading that same kind of rigorous coursework. With over 104 different majors and 99 graduate programs to choose from, U.S. News & World Report has ranked us at or among the top in various categories, including the best global university and best liberal arts university. We've also been called the nation's #1 cool school for environmental sustainability practices on our campus. This is a major, important component of what we do and what we believe in on campus, and we've been recognized as a top 10 university for contributions to the public good, which also I am honored, especially honored to have that ranking. We're ranked #1 in the nation and the world for agriculture and plant sciences and food science and nutrition, and I know people in all of these departments now because of this GTI work, and these are great people. Not only are they astounding research scholars, but they're nice people. It's just such an honor to know them and work with them. And of course, we have premier faculty across all the other disciplines. So it's an amazing place. You may be surprised to discover that UC Davis has been growing tea for over 50 years. The Kearney Research Station outside of Fresno. In the 1960s, Lipton engaged UC Davis to do a study to find out if tea could be grown in the United States and in California specifically. They did a study for several years, and then when China's trade arrangements opened up again, they didn't need the study anymore. So the study was terminated, but 14 plants still exist, and it survived as a decorative hedge. All the rest were pulled out, but this is one of the little plants. So, you know, at this point, old vine kind of thing, not compared to, you know, the hundreds and hundreds year old vines or trees rather that exist in Asia, but still 50 years is a long time. But their offspring have been part of new studies on campus. And so this is one of the labs of my colleague, Jacqueline Gervais-Haig, who's a professor of chemistry. She has also plants adapting to the outdoors and several hundreds of plants in total, which is pretty exciting. And she and her team are exploring tissue culture propagation of Camellia sinensis, which, if successful, could exponentially expand growing capacity. This is such a groundbreaking study that a member of the tea industry, when he heard her presentation, went, "Oh my God, you're going to change agriculture. You're just going to change the whole agricultural field." So it's that groundbreaking. Don't ask me to explain it. I am an art historian. Not a chemist, I can't, but she can, and she can do it well. Not only are our faculty doing fascinating research, but so are our students. So this is a picture of our Global Tea Club current president, Lydia Ginny Gao. She's planting, in this picture, 48 seedlings on the UC Davis farm. She is one of the people who randomly bopped into my office during office hours and said, "Professor Burnett, hi, you know, I see you're doing this tea thing. How come nobody's growing tea on the student farm?" I was like, "Well, because nobody's asked about growing tea on the student farm. Why don't you do it?" She said, "Okay, I want to do that." So the next quarter, I sponsored an independent study with her. She did a reading list of things that she needed to know before she prepared the soil and planted the seedlings. So she did that, and we hooked her up with various experts. Did we hook her up with you, Mike? I don't think so, but we hooked her up with other experts in California who have been working on tea, and we got her 48 seedlings, and so she has been working on them over the summer, and I'm looking forward to getting an update on the status of those plants. So one of the other things that I want you to be aware of is that as a Research One university, UC Davis provides a neutral zone for conversations and research about teas from around the world and with the industry. So we don't have skin in the game, so to speak. We don't care if it's oolong or green tea or sencha, matcha, purple tea. We don't care. I mean, we care, but we aren't preferential. We're just curious. We want to know about these things. We want to understand them. We want to help other people understand them, and we're neutral. So it's a perfect place for the farmers and industry to come together to think about this product. This is a picture of the Robert Mondavi Institute for Wine and Food. I think it's a really stunning building, and you can go and have tours there. It's just a fascinating structure architecturally. I can imagine having our own structure that's just as beautiful and innovative and important. dedicated to the study of tea culture and science. Now, people often ask me, but what do you do, for GTI? And so I thought, well, if I had to tell you, I'd forget most of it. So here's just a list of the things that I've been doing: getting grants, publishing, having exhibitions, organizing symposia, teaching, giving research talks that are on tea, more research talks on tea around the world, talks about GTI for the tea industry here and around the world, more tea talks about GTI here and around the world, and also making plans for the future. So this is what we've been doing so far for the future. Now, and near future. But GTI isn't just about me by any means. It's an ambitious project, but I could never do all of this alone. We are grateful to be able to say that we've convened a group of tea industry advisors who have partnered with us and are helping us grow and thrive. And their logos are on the screen. This is a committed group of benefactors and advisors that are helping us move into the future, and I am grateful for everything that they have done for us and continue to do. These gifts represent a passion for tea and a commitment to helping the industry improve, with the belief that all tides raise all boats. And so they understand that tea is worth studying and understanding, and they're helping us make that happen. Through their generosity, we've been able to hire our first permanent part-time position. This is her, Katherine Burnett. This is her contact information. She just completed her second week. I'm overloading her with stuff to do, but she's fabulous, and it's just great working with her. You can contact her as well as me. As I said, something wonderful happens for GTI almost every day. There's somebody that contacts me or sends me their research or introduces me to some other new way of thinking about things, and it's just phenomenal. These kinds of gifts have expanded also to art objects. So this box represents some gifts from private individuals of tea ware and ceramic ware that are similar, that relate, and other objects that are tea related in one way or another. And so having our own collection is going to make it possible for us to tell the story. And I anticipate that this collection will grow and we'll be able to tell the story better around the world for different times, different places. As somebody who is an art historian with a museum practice background, I'm really eager to make sure that this happens and is done really well. So I just want to go back to this concept. Tea is friendship. With UC Davis participating in the tea world through GTI, we can expand on this concept, I think. With tea education comes understanding. With understanding comes friendship. With friendship comes peace. Thank you for your time. And I'd be happy to take questions. I'm just going to put this on the screen as a reminder, so if you didn't get a chance to write down the date for our next event, please do, and mark your calendars and plan to join us and come. It should be a really fascinating symposium. Might there be any questions? Thank you. So it's always wonderful to see you, and thank you for that wonderful question, Nigel. Nigel was our keynote speaker at our last event. And so I'm grateful for his support. And that really good question. The obstacles really are time and money. We have a wonderful faculty, but I really want this moving before many of the faculty who are involved retire. And, so we want to make sure that this is institutionalized as soon as possible. To make that happen, I think one of the things that we need is to have endowed professorships and a directorship. I actually don't get paid for doing this, even though I devote so much time. Many people think I'm nuts for spending so much time on this, but it's just such a rewarding project, I couldn't not do it. So we really need to have endowed professorships and a directorship to ensure that tea will always be studied on campus. we continued help from the industry. If you have suggestions for ways to make it happen and make it happen better, I'm grateful for those suggestions. Many of the reasons why this is such a comprehensive vision is because we started having conversations in 2012 about this as just a faculty research cluster. And as I would meet people and they would say, have you thought about, are you going to do? And it'd be like, wow, that's a great idea. The answer has to be yes, we will do this, we will do this. And so it's expanded because I had conversations with thoughtful people who had good ideas. One of the fun things for us is that tea is now being grown all up and down the West Coast and in Hawaii as well. One of our great California tea farmers is sitting right there, Mike Fritz, who produces a really great cup of tea. I got to have a cup of his tea a couple weeks ago and loved it. So we need more expertise coming in, I think, to help everybody better understand. I think we need to have workshops. We need to bring people in to teach in workshops, both for the industry and for our students and for the general public. The only thing at 3 o'clock, what worries me is that I don't have enough time and I have to publish on other things that my department needs for me to do, and I have to teach. And if I could be relieved of more teaching and just devote more time to this, it would make my life a lot easier. Having more staff would be good too, but one step at a time. But again, if you have good ideas, Nigel, send them our way. And I know you do have good ideas, so. Other questions? No? Okay, well, if you have questions, I'm happy to be here for a couple more minutes and just come up and talk to me because maybe you're shy and don't want to ask it out loud. But thank you again so much for being here and for giving me your time.